Welcome to my channel. My name is Liv, and just ignore my hair. I know it's a mess. Been having some difficulties. I just took it out of a braid. It will probably be completely straight by the time this video is over. I feel like I look like one of those before pictures in the teen movies where they're like, oh, just straighten your hair and remove your glasses and then you'll be pretty. Anyway, the complete portrayal of removing glasses makes you pretty had no effect on my self-esteem at all. Today we're going to be doing the books I read in June reading wrap-up. So let's open up Storygraph and go to June. I read 14 books? That can't be right. Oh, okay. No, I remember. This was my month of going down a graphic novel, bizarre road trip rabbit hole. There was a heat wave and it was so hot. I was just blasting the AC. I didn't even want to read, so I picked graphic novels. I'll put a picture, but as you can see, from month to month I go very up and down with my reading habit. Okay, obviously I read a lot of gay books, or most of these have, if not main characters who are gay, the side characters are, and they play big parts in the story, along with the theme of pride. I guess the other theme is witchy stuff. The first book I read was This Poison Heart, which is a young adult fantasy novel, sapphic, about a girl who has plant powers that she has trouble controlling, and it's become a danger to her. Well, not really to her, but to everyone around her, because she can kind of disrupt roots and stuff, which can cause damage to like property, and the whole like not letting anyone know you have these powers. Okay, fan break. Did I pick the worst time of day to film this? Probably. So she lives with her moms in New York City, and they own a flower shop. And one day she gets a visit from a lawyer being like, hey, your birth family died and left you this house. And they decide to go check it out, and they discover this garden full of the world's most poisonous flowers, and just weird things start happening with the townspeople and her powers and trying to discover the family lore. It was really good. I didn't know where the story was going, like, at all. I really loved the relationship between her and her moms. It was so supportive and loving. They made so many jokes about, like, oh, this is a horror movie, we have to get out. Get out. So it was very, like, self-aware, but then you still do it anyway. And I kind of figured out one of the, like, twists, I suppose, but I don't know if I understood the whole story, like a certain part of it, but I feel like that'll be explained more in book 2, which I haven't read yet. Okay, next book is Song of the Six Realms, my beloved. This is also a young adult fantasy, probably my fave genre. But this is about a girl named Shui. She plays the Chin. She works in she's indentured in an entertainment house because she has no prospects, and her family were labeled as traitors, so like she inherited that. One day she's called to play for Duke Meng, who acts strangely for a noble. Seems very unaware of the customs and why she has to like treat him a certain way, why certain rules are there. And he makes her an offer about playing at his house for a year, and then he'll release her and pay off her indenture for the rest of her life, so she'll be free to do whatever. But she thinks, why would he do that? And they get attacked by a monster. So then she ends up going to stay with him and finds out he's the Duke of Dreams, which is part of the celestial realm. And there's 6 realms, as the title says. And there are monsters and uncovering memories and characters haunting the narrative, and being the talks of like mortality versus immortality, like, are the immortal people really that much better or free of quote unquote human wants and emotions? And it was really good. I flew through it. I loved it. I loved the characters. I loved the interactions between her and the Duke and the Duke's sister and the prince, and just the descriptions of music. It's very much a lot of like what the chin sounds like nature, and how music can evoke memories. And it was just a very sweet romance. It's a standalone, which I love. I understood the mythology. There's a little like section at the beginning to introduce you to the characters, and I really enjoyed reading it. Okay, next book is the Diablo's Curse. This is a young adult fantasy about a demon who wants to become human again, but to do that they have to break all of their deals they have. And they get to the last deal they have, and it's for a boy named Silas, who is only able to be alive because of the deal they have, so he doesn't want to break the deal because there's a family curse affecting him. So they basically have to go on this adventure to break the curse before it kills Silas, or both of them. And there's a time limit, so it's basically like a sort of adventure, treasure hunt, island, non-binary representation. There were 3 point of views, as you can tell by the cover, having 3 different people. It was an okay read. I felt like there were 3 point of views, but it was weird because they weren't like evenly distributed, which I get because one character isn't introduced till later. But I feel like she was kind of like, I feel like she was kind of the woman character who only serves to push the 2 main characters' story further along. Like, she had all the answers and we don't really get to hear much of her, and she's kind of the only reason they survived. So I didn't really like that. I don't know, I feel like I don't really rate books unless they're really good or really, really bad. I feel like I give this 3 stars. It was okay. It wasn't worst book I've ever read. It wasn't the greatest book I ever read. I understood each character's motivations, but I felt like the story just kind of fell flat, and it was just kind of there. Okay, next we go on our graphic novel journey, starting with The Sprite and the Gardener. This is an adorable little story about these sprites who manage the flowers, plants, but when the humans come, they're like no longer needed. But then there's this I don't know if they're supposed to be a child or a teenager who wants to restore the garden where they live because Their mom loves gardening, but their mom has been super busy with work, so the gardens kind of fell into disarray and they don't know how to garden, so they encounter a sprite trying to help them, and they work together to make the garden bloom. And the artwork was so pretty. The character designs were all really different. I loved all the fashion, the clothes the sprites were wearing. It was just so wholesome. Next we read Over My Dead Body, another graphic novel. This is about, I just completely blanked. Wow. Okay. Our main character, Abby, who we're at a magical school, and her sort of classmate, who's like her sister, disappears, and she decides to investigate it because it seems like nothing's being done. There are a lot of secrets at the academy. It's very dark academia, witchy, some more LGBT themes. I definitely liked it. I feel like yeah, she was acting recklessly, but then she did discover the truth, but then they were breaking rules, but then no one else was really doing anything. This is good. We have Season of the Bruja, Volume 1. This is about a Thalia who's a Bruja. She's part of, her and her grandma are like the last of their kind, and she works in a museum with her friends who are a chupacabra and a were-coyote. And the story focuses a lot on Mexican culture, and then there's the prejudice they face. There's this priest who is this part of a Hernan Cortez fan club. I don't know if it's part of like this like brotherhood who like whose goal is to banish witches, specifically brujas. And there's this trigger warning for a lot of like colonialism, genocide, I would get. Yeah, like calling native people like animals and savages. It was a lot. Basically, like, they have to use their holy power to defeat the evil witches. And it was about Athalia like having to like learn all of this information while also like fighting these priests. I really liked it. It was, like I said, it was a lot with like the colonialism and racism. Is colonialism the word I wouldn't use? Yeah. I mean, this takes place in like modern day, but it's like about wiping out people. The artwork was beautiful. I don't know if there's gonna be more though, because I feel like we ended in a weird spot. Okay, next I read Witchy Volume 1, which is about a society where your magic is determined by the length of your hair. So basically Rapunzel would be the most magical person ever, but if you have like too long of hair, you're kind of like seen as a threat. And then these witch burnings happen by the witch guard, which are supposed to like, I'm saying witch way too often, which are supposed to like be the protectors of the city and protect this country from like the other countries. But obviously they're like killing their own people too. And so we follow our main girl whose father was killed by the witch guard. So she's obviously not a fan, and she doesn't want to join. She doesn't want to appear as a threat to the witch guard because she doesn't want them coming after her. She doesn't really want to be in the group that killed her own father. And when she's like conscripted, she has to like choose whether she wants to, I mean, it's not really a choice, you kind of have to go if you're conscripted, I think, but like whether to rebel or not. I love the art style, I love the friendships, and there was like humor too, maybe more like dark humor sometimes, but it was really good. Next we have The Bad. It's a graphic novel called Ever After. I don't know, it was on Libby and it was available, so I read it. It's the story of like, it's like post-apocalypse, zombie apocalypse, and we're in Europe, and I'm guessing like most of the cities and stuff are like fenced off, and the only way to get through is trains between the cities. And these two girls get stuck like between, like they hitch a ride onto the train, and the train stops in between the two cities, and they kind of get stuck. There's like the fence off city and fence off cities, and then there's just the open land, which is where all the zombies are. I hate to say it, I didn't like the art style. I didn't really understand this book, what the purpose was. I guess it was supposed to be about friendship, but these girls were awful to each other. It wasn't really clear what was happening, and it just kind of ended, and it was just kind of like, that's it? Like, what? Why did I read this? It was written in 2012, which, yeah, makes sense. Tangier in the Rain? Is that how you say it? Which is about Henry Matisse, who takes place in like the early 1900s, and he decides to leave Paris and go for a vacation in Morocco to kind of inspire him because he's feeling down about his artwork and Picasso like holding the stage. And so he goes to Tangier and it rains. So he's like, well, what am I supposed to do now? How am I supposed to paint in these conditions? So he starts this series about like room 35, which is the hotel room he was staying in. I don't know, this one was okay. Like, it said in the beginning, like, this is a fictionalized account of like what happened while he was there and the subjects of one of his paintings. And then it just kind of had like a sad ending for the subject of his paintings. It's just kind of like meh. And also weird because like we don't really know. It was just kind of all made up about the people, so I don't think I really liked it. Okay, editing live here. This video is a bit of a mess. I have a chronic illness that causes heat intolerance, and I turn off the AC to film it and make myself sick. So I know the AC is on right now, but we're just gonna have to deal with it. This is a completely different day than from when I filmed the video, but it's even hotter today. So the heat was melting my brain. I completely forgot to talk about a book, graphic novel, called Coven. This is a sapphic young adult story about this girl who lives in California with her parents. She has a girlfriend, friends, she loves surfing. She's also a fire witch, which seems pretty dangerous for California. Don't know why her parents picked that state. But her life gets upended when there's a murder in the Coven, which is on the East Coast, and her parents had left, but now they have to go back because going towards the killer makes sense, but I guess the Coven protects you. And so she's very upset about having to move away from her girlfriend or her friends and her life, and has to basically go on a journey to discover what's happening. This was good, except I feel like the pacing was a bit off. I mean, I know there's only so much space in a graphic novel, but graphic novels can have multiple issues or volumes. Like in a book, I feel this pacing would make more sense, but it seems like she agrees to do something. It seems way like why are you doing this? I know, like, I guess it's because like teenagers are impulsive or reckless, but it still seems really out of nowhere and strange, and like that part should have taken longer, I guess. But overall, I enjoyed it. So back to the regular video. Okay, next we have Witchy Volume 2, so maybe a bit of spoilers. The main girl and her raven are like on the run. She's cut her hair, which is like the ultimate heresy. And she's going to meet this broom maker to make a broom so she can like travel more freely. And it's just about her and this broom maker butting heads and learning how to do stuff when she has so little magic now, even though she never really had control over magic. And talks about running away or like becoming a martyr, basically fighting in the rebellion. It was good. I think I maybe like the first one more, but I don't know if there are more volumes, but I liked it. I read The Prince and the Dressmaker, which is about this prince who likes to wear dresses sometimes, and so he secretly hires this like tailor to make him dresses, but then the tailor doesn't like that her work has to be kept a secret, because obviously his secret has to be kept a secret, so no one can know who she's working for. So she's feeling very stifled in her career, and he's getting pressured to get married, and he's feeling very uncomfortable with like having this be a secret, and you know, living with someone while keeping a secret, is a part of himself a secret. I liked all the dresses, like the fashion art. There was this one moment I really didn't like where he was like trying to order her to stay even when she wanted to leave. Like it was like an emotional outburst. A heartwarming ending, maybe not the most realistic, but you know, it's nice to have heartwarming gay stories, okay? Even if it's not realistic. This Séance tea party, which is about this girl who does not want to grow up. All of her friends are like interested in boys and makeup and celebrity stuff, and she's just like, I don't want to deal with this. She's feeling left behind, so she holds this seance, and then she meets this ghost girl who she used to be imaginary friends with. Well, obviously she wasn't imaginary because she was just a ghost. And so she's kind of like hanging out with the ghost girl and enjoying childhood things. It was really sweet and also like sad about like this girl doesn't want to grow up, but the ghost girl wishes she could have had grown up because she died really young and she can't age because she's a ghost, so she's kind of stuck hanging out with children. And also the main girl, she's like, I like weird stuff, and you know, I feel like I have to hide that. And it's like, no, you just have to find people who also like the same stuff you like. So that was really nice. and it's just really sweet. Okay, finally we have the worst perfect moment. This book. You know, in a book you relate to a main character, but not for reasons that you want to relate to a main character. There are some quotes in this that felt a little too close to home. So we followed Tegan, who just died. She's 16. And she, like, wakes up in this motel and from her past, and she meets an angel named Zelda who's like, hey, this is heaven and this is your heaven, which is basically, heaven is basically like your most perfect moment. And she's like, Tegan is like, there's a mistake here because this is my worst memory. So this is a sapphic story also. So we follow basically Tegan going to upper management to complain, and then we have Zelda, who's not like a bubbly happy angel. She's like snarky and weird and gross, and I loved her. And they basically have to, upper management says they have to go through Tegan's memories and see if this is actually her most perfect memory, and if not, there's going to be bad consequences for them both. So it's really a tale of like memory and grief for like the ones you left behind, and dealing with like what is happiness, and like how do I explain this? Sort of like you can't have light without darkness. Like you can't have happy memories without like sad, bad memories. And like if you have bad memories with these people, does that like take away from the good memories you had with them? And there's talk of like parental abandonment and feeling like you're not good enough for someone to stay or choose you first. And so it was, you know, there was a sweet romance, but it was also kind of really sad, but like a happy ending. It's kind of like a roller coaster of emotions, but I really, really enjoyed it. Okay, so that was my June reading wrap up. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next video.